Regain your visual voice. Master the power of sketching your ideas. Have you ever been in a situation where you're presenting in front of an audience with a flip chart? Would you feel as confident as she looks? Could you make markings on the flip chart and not feel embarrassed? Why is that? If you say no, why is that? Yes, it's judgment. Judgment from other people, but also judgment from ourselves. We don't want to be judged. Now, drawing is not art. As you can see here, the sketches we make when we're kids, and even the sketches now, which we don't make, they're not considered art. The Mona Lisa was there, that was art, and that was kind of like a time where only the masters could do the work. So that's not what we're talking about when we talk about drawing. I taught a class at a community college, and it was a beginning commercial art drawing class. And I was having problems convincing the students that they could draw. So I took this out of a book by Betty Edwards called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, and I projected this photograph on the wall. I had a student put a 6-inch square rectangle on their paper, and I shouldn't say a square, but the rectangles work too. I gave them 10 minutes. And then here's the punchline here. When it's all said and done, if they did what I told them to do, which just is draw what they see, this is what they came up with. And obviously a picture or a portrait of President John F. Kennedy. And there were gasps in the room. People were amazed that they got a likeness of him. And the reason why is because, you see, when you turn it upside down, what you're doing, it turns the left side of your brain that doesn't really care about what it is, the judgmental side of your brain, and you can just proceed with, hey, that's an interesting shape, that's an interesting color, and just go from there. Now, another story I want to tell is that we draw to see, and this is kind of the art part of it. I remember my 6th grade class, my art teacher she put a fast one on us, and she asked us to draw our mothers from memory. Now, I was born in the 50s, and as you can see there, the TV moms, Lucille Ball, Donna Reed, and Joan Cleaver, that's how our moms were supposed to look at home, but that wasn't what my mom looked like, and I don't think like most moms look like that. But anyways, I had to draw from memory, and in particular, this was a competition. Every grade got a prize, and we were going to go in front of the Mother's Club, and the mom would get a corsage, and I would get a ribbon, and there would be some dessert. It was a big deal, and all the artwork would be displayed. So the interesting thing about it is that the one kid at my table, Billy, his mother was the president of this Mother's Club, and he looked at me and said, well, your mom's not a member, so don't even try, just give it up. And I looked at him and said, well, I guess my mom's just going to have to join. And sure enough, I won the competition. And what was interesting enough, all the drawings were displayed, all the winning drawings were displayed, and there were a lot of comments about my drawing, especially with me standing next to my mother, and they looked at my drawing and they said, hey, it doesn't look anything like her. And I stood up and basically defended my artwork, saying I did it from memory, and in my mind, I just thought about the most beautiful woman I could think of, and that was my mother. So I had a good save right there, and really I think that was the important part, was it's an interpretation of what you think, and it's not a photograph. Photography kind of helped us out because artists in the past were using art as photography because we didn't have photography, to capture history. But now it's art for art's sake. So going on, We also draw to think, and what I like to say is that this is where I think I excel, because I use the sticky notes, and whenever I do a paper, or I'm doing an article or something I have to write with, I'll sketch things up on sticky notes or on 3x5 cards, and I'll put them up on um, a board, and then I can see the big picture. I can see the whole thing, and this really helps me organize my thoughts, and I feel like I can really dig into the project that way. I do this with everything else. I mean, as far as even organizing the basement or the garage or a closet, I'll make these little sticky notes and I'll have a plan. So that's drawing to think. And then you have drawing to show. This is where we're talking about standing up in front of a group and having to write out and nice lettering, and maybe putting some icons or some um, I guess you'd say arrows and stuff like that, and feeling comfortable and feeling like you have a kind of a methodology of doing this, so it doesn't look messy and the colors look good, and there's a whole thing about how to put the colors in and stuff like that. But then we move on, and there's drawing to do, and this is where you get collaborating with people in a group situation. And I know that people are kind of shy about it, and they don't want to be the first one to have to write something, because their lettering isn't very good. They don't want to draw anything. But if they have a good idea, the way to sell the idea is to be able to sketch it so that people can understand it. And I think that if you give yourself some time and you practice this, that you'll actually, like I said, regain your visual voice. People will listen to you because they can see what you're talking about. So in summary, you can start out with very simple stuff by basically, when you take notes, the first thing I would do is take your whatever you're drawing it and turn it landscape wise. And don't necessarily use the lines. You can use the whole pad, and when something comes up, you can just put clusters of ideas there, and then later on you can kind of see where the pattern is, see what the big idea is. And if you start that with when you're at a meeting or any type of thing, even if you went to something like a teacher's conference or something like that, if you took your notes that way, you want to make them interesting for yourself, so that when you come back and look at it, it reminds you of what you experienced at that time. So that'd be number one. And then number two is practicing big with flip charts. Learning how to use the markers good. There are some great markers out there by a company in Germany called Neuland. They're water-based, they don't smell, they don't bleed, and they're refillable. And these are good to start out with, so that you can get a sense of how to write as you're talking, which is very difficult, by the way, and get your point across. And then you can move on to doing workshops and doing what they call graphic facilitation. So I hope this helps give you a general idea about what you need to do in order to reclaim your visual voice, and to stand out there and not be embarrassed and not be shy, and get your point across. Well, that's it for now. See you in the next video.